Hello and welcome to Millenniotic, the podcast where a couple of millennials talk about society, entertainment, and the logistics of life. I'm AJ Pecukonis.
And I'm Jason. AJ, you want to know something nice about this podcast?
What?
We don't have sponsors.
Fuck sponsors. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly, because there's nothing fucking worse than when I'm driving to work, I'm brushing my teeth, and they're reading out sponsors, and I have to skip that shit. I literally drop my toothbrush and fucking go off the road. Okay? But we don't have sponsors, but what we do have is a couple of plugs of our social medias, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at Millenniotic. You can leave us some suggestions, some helpful feedback. That'd be great. Reviews on iTunes are actually really helpful for us as well, if you find this entertaining. You can also watch us on YouTube at whatever URL we are, because we don't even have 100 subscribers yet. So be sure to subscribe and check us out on that.
We'll be sharing the YouTube link to the videos every week on all of the social media. So as long as you follow us there, you should be able to get access to our beautiful faces and our gorgeous voices.
Yeah, that's nice.
Jason Bell, you came up with a fantastic word.
And what word was that?
It's milleniotic.
Thank you. I needed to hear it again.
I'm sure you guys were you tuned in being like, what does milleniotic mean? That's what we're going to talk about in this first episode. Okay. Is going to be
what is milleniotic? How
to define that word.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is such a good word to describe a controversial generation.
Thank you.
And I really want your take on creating the word, and then what does that word mean to you? How would you define milleniotic?
Well, I mean, pretty much just like coming up with the name for the site or just the podcast in general. I was like, most of our topics, most anything that we're talking about, we're just talking about life in general, just relatable like stuff to us.
Yeah.
So it's just like we're both millennials and we're both idiots. So it's kind of just combining millennial and idiotic.
And idiotic, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably the most popular iotic
pretty
ending
much
words that you would think that would relate to millennials,
at
right?
At least nowadays.
Especially nowadays. There's a lot of bad perceptions on our generation of the millennial generation. But I want you to know your definition of that word, because I have a couple of different ways to define that word.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what you came up with as, the word craftsman.
Okay.
Of the two of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. If I was really just going to like define the word in the context of the show, is more so just like shedding light on the biases towards millennials in general. Like just the fact that like any bias that exists is kind of idiotic. You shouldn't even just have biases in general, like towards any generation or just any.
Are you saying that stereotypes are hurtful and untrue? Is that what I'm hearing?
Now we're playing the victim complex, and I don't even want to do that with this show, Sam.
Fuck that. We'll stay away from that right now. But no, it's a thing that happens though when you talk about generational growth and how different generations perceive different generations, and it's very interesting because of the climate of which we grew up in compared to our parents, the baby boomers, right?
Yeah.
The dreaded dun dun dun, the baby boomers, right? The evil empire.
It's such a menacing name, but it's not.
Like, it doesn't need to be. Baby boomer. Like, it really doesn't need to be menacing, but it comes off that way.
Are you a
to
boomer?
Some. We're going to stay away from that.
I got you. I'm sorry.
No boomer talk here.
But what about memes?
Memes. That's a whole nother episode.
Okay,
I
fine,
plan
fair
on
enough.
talking about what makes a good meme and why there's so many bad memes nowadays.
Okay,
I feel like that would be a very interesting topic. But
back to...
I want to talk about my definition of millennial
let's hear
really quick. So first thing I'm going to say, it's an adjective, right? It has to be an adjective to define, to describe a generation, right? So if you look up any words that say iotic, usually it's to describe or to use to describe something. So idiotic is you're describing somebody to be an idiot without saying it in so many words. That's pretty much what...
So we're describing millennials as idiots. That's what we're doing.
There's other words like patriotic and stuff. It really doesn't matter. It just it's a description.
Because you're like, oh, what does it mean to be patriotic?
Exactly. So one thing I want to do is define what a millennial is really quick.
Okay.
So a millennial is usually somebody born in between the early 80s and the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Around, early 20s to late 30s
nowadays.
There. Yeah. And one definition that I came up with, which was interesting, is being educated, but also kind of dumb, right? Because we are the most educated generation so far because of the way our parents raised us.
All of them wanted us to go to college. So like pretty much anybody that I know that's like within our demographic has at least gone to college or earned their degree.
Exactly.
To some extent.
We are going through the same thing that our parents did.
Yeah.
We just didn't know this was happening.
I know, it's true.
And we weren't warned, right?
No.
So there's so many things nowadays that you just have no idea what they mean, and you just kind of shake your head and go along with it. And just hope it's right, and you never have to use it, like insurance.
The warning signs were there, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember being in elementary school, and my teacher literally showing us, hey, there's this new thing called Yahoo, where you can search. It's a new search engine. Then 2 years later, hey, fuck that shit, go to Google. There's also Wikipedia, but, don't be using those, like, specifically for, or originally it was like, don't use Wikipedia at all.
Yeah.
It's not a good source. People can edit that shit. Now it's just like, yeah, you can use it, just don't use it as your first source. Like, literally, I had college professors in, like, my later years. Just
what I ended up doing with Wikipedia a lot was they used references at the end where they would tell you where they got the information. I would just go straight to those sources and cite that information. So what I used Wikipedia was just like a way to get all of the sources together in one spot. Not like that's kind of what I think Wikipedia was supposed to be.
Yeah, a little like that's like what their business model was.
Correct information.
Yeah.
But that's also like the interesting thing about our generation is we are so educated and we were told to go to college, but we grew up with the internet.
The information was there all around us.
Right.
In general, or growing.
Nowadays, if you have a question about something, most likely you're pulling out your phone and you're typing it into Google, what is.
Yep.
Right? Which leads me to actually something I wanted to bring up really quick.
Shit.
Which is, I did a Google search for millennials are ... In the top search results afterwards, the autocorrects, and this is from Google. So the first one is lazy. Millennials are lazy. I feel like that's a stereotype of bias that is easily associated with millennials.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, one of the things that I found while I was, like, searching was just in general millenniatics, or, like, I'm already using a word, was just that, like, millennials don't like to stick around at jobs specifically because they are lazy, or just, like, they just don't seem fulfilling.
Right, and it's probably the perception of, oh, this is too hard, so I'm out.
Yeah, I don't know
as soon as the sledding gets tough, I got to get out and find something easier.
Yeah, but I actually do know you. You worked at Dunkin' Donuts, too, at a different location. But how long did you work there for?
6
at a
years.
Shitty minimum wage job?
6 years, a quarter over minimum wage.
Yeah, and so did I at a different location. Did that pay for college?
No. Wait, is my Dunkin' Donuts that I make over the summer supposed to pay for my college?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're raised to maybe think that, but I don't know.
I feel like my father told me he worked at McDonald's and paid for his college.
Yeah,
he got his master's degree.
I think you can hear that just about from anybody. Ooh. Yeah.
So why can our baby boomers make a minimum wage and go to college and have no debt, but we have to borrow money from quasi-government agencies?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
To borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't know what we're getting into at a very young age of 17, 18 years old. We don't know how much money that actually is until you leave. And then 6 months afterwards, you get that first payment.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And then what are you making on that first payment? And I'll get into that later.
Yeah,
I have some studies from CNBC
about exactly. I got a couple
1970
numbers.
Compared to now, when the generational difference on how much they were making when they left college and the cost of living then versus now. It's staggering, not surprising to me, though. When I was doing this research, it confirmed everything that I thought was true, which is a horrible thing because I thought the worst above everything.
I know.
And it's crazy that the average
buckle up, folks, because this dude's the cynic.
I love that.
I try to be a little bit more optimistic,
but a little bit. So
looking into the research for this episode got me down.
I got hyped, and that's the difference between us, dude. I was like, I cannot wait to spill this stupid knowledge all over everybody and just make everybody feel like they were born at the wrong time. It's going to be so good. The best. So one thing that I wanted to add really quick before we get into the next, the autofill from Google is each generation is born into a different condition left by the generation before them, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So our baby boomers were raised by, I would say, the greatest generation of all time, and it will be very hard to beat that generation. This is the generation that did World War I,
yeah, I know,
World War II,
yeah,
they did Korea and Vietnam.
Now, actually,
right? They fought the wars. They did everything
for that generation. Yeah, absolutely.
For the country, so we can live the life that we should.
Yeah,
if we didn't have successful attacks in Germany and certain things didn't go our way in World War II, we could be speaking German right now.
I know, it's true.
We could be the German states of America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A little weird to think of, but that's why I think our grandparents were the greatest generation, because they gave us all of the freedom, and we are currently, to go on to another even more tangent, we are in like the current greatest single period of time of peace without U.S. being in a war in a very long time. And a lot of it is from the perception of that generation kicking everybody's ass.
I know, yeah.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
And with that, we have the perception of power as Americans.
That's true.
And it's our responsibility, whether we like it or not, as the next generation, to figure out how to move the world forward.
Yeah, which was what I was about to say, which is like, that is a bit like, that's a perfect call to action. But also, when you think about it, there's kind of a really good fucking parallel between us, like as millennials, which really we should be fucking trying a lot harder, is just the fact that like there is a parallel between us and grandparents. Because I don't know about you, but my grandmother was 92 when she died when I was about like 6 or 7. And I remember talking to her about fucking when cars were becoming a thing.
Imagine that.
Like,
imagine being around when the first car was built, and you're like, wait, I don't have to walk everywhere now?
Refrigerators, just like other shit like that.
I can keep food good for more than 2 days at a time.
Medicine, antibiotics, stuff like that. So it's just like, you compare the technological boom that's going on now versus then, we are that generation to theirs. We are not in like the lull period.
The technological expanse and the advancements we've made in the last 10 years is greater than the last 50 years before that.
Yeah.
So our generation is going to be responsible for a lot of the newest technology coming out, and hopefully for the betterment of the world.
Yeah.
Right? But if we don't better the world, how much longer are we going to be around? And that's kind of like a very pessimistic thought.
Yeah, I know.
But it's one that I don't think we understand.
Yeah.
How important just existing and voting and living in a society properly and doing your job.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just because you want to get paid, but just because it's the thing to do to keep America great. Like what? I hate to say that, right?
Actually, no, stop it. We're not going political on that.
No. We're not at all. But what I'm saying is America is great.
Yeah, it is.
And in order to keep it great and to make the rest of the world great, it is up to us to lead the charge. Because a lot of countries nowadays look at us to lead the charge. So a lot of the perception nowadays is that we're kind of stepping out of things that we shouldn't be.
Yeah, but
I feel like we're kind of getting pushed into that, and that could be a whole different episode.
I know,
that's a little bit political, where we're kind of like hey, you be the leader, and we as our generation is like, we don't know how to be a leader. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I could step into the boxing ring with a boxer, doesn't mean I'm going to win.
It's
right?
True.
It's all of that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting thought, and it's a way for you to kind of expand your mind outside of your own world and think about how you impact an entire generation, a country, and all of that kind of stuff, and like what you can do. And your civic duty is to vote. So I do really think everybody should vote.
And I think it's becoming a bigger thing anyways.
Whatever side you're on.
In general.
Just vote.
Yeah.
Get yourself educated and vote about what you feel. Whatever your gut says is right, vote for that. Our generation, I feel like we're not necessarily outspoken. We're very silent.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of we need to figure out a way to get how we feel out there to everybody else, but everyone is so kind of...
Yeah, but that's the crappy thing kind of with like our voting structure in general, especially because I don't want to go into like electoral college or anything like that. But I mean, it's like most people within our generation, I mean, numbers prove our generation doesn't vote enough. Absolutely not. They don't fucking do it enough. But most of them, if any of them do have an opinion, it is mostly, I go with my gut instincts. I'm going with whoever. But that's God, I'm going into like political parties and stuff like that because it's just like we don't have them, but they still exist. And it's just like...
It's an outdated system that we're kind of being forced into one side or the other.
Into cooperating with.
Yeah, where so it's just, either you're one side or the other. There's really no middle ground.
But that's what gives one side a leg over the other against the popular vote of the citizens. Right. You know what I mean? Aside from the electoral college, like to actually go by popular vote, by like what everybody else is like agreeing with, it's not really about that. It's about like, it's hard to describe.
It's an interesting topic about the whole political climate of America and how millennials are going to possibly change it for the better or worse, whether we know we are or not. And that would be an interesting
Yeah, it would.
podcast.
That would be
I think that would be a good topic.
Exactly. I want to save that one for a later day. But
so let's get into the next millennials are. And the next one that came up was a bit surprising, and it's killing.
Wait, what?
Millennials are killing.
It just says millennials are killing nothing else?
That's it.
What?
Everybody. Did
the next one come up killing it?
No.
Oh, fuck.
The next one came up as stupid.
Well, I mean, obviously.
That's kind of, it goes into like the whole, they think we're idiots, we're lazy, we're stupid because we're lazy, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Stupid? No. We're very educated. We are stupid about certain things, though.
Yeah, exactly.
The things that we are stupid about are the things they don't teach us in school, though.
Yeah.
It's how much do I need to save for my tax bill at the end of the year?
Yeah.
All of this kind of stuff. What is the right deductible for my health insurance?
No.
How much should I be paying for my car insurance?
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people in our generation have no idea. And they kind of just call the big name companies, the ones you see on television marketing during football games.
Yeah.
They'll call them.
And
then you just be like, that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It looks good.
They don't even bother. And that's one thing I really wanted to get into in a different episode is going to be the logistics of how insurance works. Because a lot of people don't understand what insurance works and how it works and how much it costs and all of these things. And I would love to be able to get into it in detail and really like help everybody with tips and with my own personal stories and all this kind of stuff. Because I had a very serious insurance claim against me, and it's a very long story to get into, but insurance saved my bacon.
Yeah,
and that's all I'm going to say. It's because I had the right insurance, and a lot of people don't know you need this insurance. So that's what I want to leave you off.
Yeah. Meanwhile, one of our friends is like trapped in a legal battle for a very similar situation,
and it doesn't need to be.
Doesn't need to be whatsoever.
It doesn't need to be.
But
So the next word is entitled. Now, this is an interesting word because when you think entitled, it could totally mean spoiled, right? It could totally, you can kind of associate spoiled and entitled in the same kind of vein where you think of baby boomers leaving all of their wealth to millennials.
Well, this one made me, when I read it the first time, and I've heard it before, and it always fucking irks me the most. Because it's not really about entitlement. It's more so about expectation. It's a completely different fucking word. We expected things, all right, because of what we were informed when we were younger. We expected to go to, or like if we went to college, we would eventually find a job that would give us a leg up on any type of employment.
Right.
Anything like that would build towards a career. Like most things online are like, oh, millennials are looking for like jobs that like are like making a difference and stuff like that, which we are because we fucking should be. But the thing is just like we were just expecting like going to college, we would be covered as far as like our health, our fucking like dental, shit like that. Just anything, just we would have a nest egg. Like be able to enjoy leisure, which everybody wants to. Right. Because like most things, it's just like, oh, like millennials spend the most time on their phone and all that good jazz. But it's just like, no, that's not even the case. I looked up online and it's like millennials are between 5 and 6. Gen Xers are between 6 and 8 hours on their phone per week. And then, yeah, and baby boomers, 4 to 5. It's not even that big of a difference. My girlfriend's mom, she'll post things on Facebook or she'll share things on Facebook from fake news, like just obvious, blatant fake news with
the
like
Onion or whatever.
Yeah, the Onion. Yeah. There are Reddits dedicated to baby boomers sharing those that are just from the Onion. That is obviously a fake, like a joke, fake news source that they 100% believe.
Exactly, and like the whole entitled thing, I read a lot of interesting articles that kind of said something in the vein of the baby boomers are making so much money, they'll leave it to the millennials and the millennials will have all the wealth.
Yeah.
No. That you cannot bet on your parents leaving you enough money for you to live the rest of your life.
Yeah, like, you know where all the baby boomers' money goes? To retirement homes.
Those things are like joking. 10 grand a month.
They literally have you sell your house to pay.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sell a $300,000 house.
Yeah.
That's 30 months.
That's 30 months. Yeah.
30 months.
On average.
Are you going to live for more than 2.5 years? Oh. Most likely.
Yeah, exactly.
So where's the rest of the money going to come from? It's going to be coming from your family.
People don't get left money anymore. Like or any. You don't get left things. Assets don't really exist after death anymore. Like in general.
I feel like a lot of baby boomers are going to be cashing their assets to enjoy the rest of their lives more than leave it for their children unless they have a ridiculous amount of wealth. And at that point, you're entitled.
You're
entitled to that wealth because you got lucky, you won the lottery.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's just kind of it.
True. Yeah, you're right.
It's just kind of, and that's just the way life is.
Yeah.
The next one is Screwed. I love this one. I love it because it is so negative. But so Screwed. We're not screwed. We might screw things up though. Mm-hmm. And we got to figure out how to fix it. The baby boomers, they screwed up the entire real estate industry, but they fixed it for us, right? So that's their imprint on the next generation. Is going to be making sure when you go buy a house and you borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can actually repay that loan.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And it's things like that that is good that we didn't have to go through that ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
But we saw a lot of bad things happen in the Great Recession, it was called.
I know. We've lived through 2 of them so far.
And
only about 28 years.
We're overdue for another one, by the way. We're overdue.
I'm aware.
What the next one is going to be a very interesting topic I would like to discuss on another show. And the last millennial are killing industries. Have you heard about this?
No, maybe that's where the killing came from.
I mean, it's just hilarious how it's killing and then killing industries is the 6th or 7th one.
Yeah, I feel so.
Killing industries. A lot of people are saying millennials are killing like the ma and pa shops. Right?
Yeah.
You hear about this?
Yes, I've already heard about that. Yeah, it's true. I remember a couple of months ago reading an article saying that millennials were killing corporate industries as well. Because I remember there was an article talking about, I think it was like Chili's and Applebee's, how like they were going bankrupt because millennials were looking for the hot spots, like the Instagram, like stuff like that. But it's like, those are the ma and pa's of restaurants. We are going against shitty food like Chili's and Applebee's for healthier homemade options, or like healthier and like better ingredient options.
Was it 2 years ago McDonald's closed more restaurants than they opened?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're just looking for different options.
Yeah.
That fit what we want as a lifestyle.
Yeah,
and a lot of it isn't fast food burger joint stuff.
No.
A lot of it is healthier options, believe it or not.
Yep.
We would like more healthy options, but we don't want to pay out the ass for it either.
I know.
So there's our conundrum is you can open up these mom and pop shops, but if the millennials aren't making enough money to be able to support them, and then they go to the cheaper options, that's why industries are dying.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, industries are dying because the ingredients are actually going up, and also cost of living is going up. So those restaurants, or just any place, has to be charging more for their product in order to make enough money for it. It's not really that, like, we're not going there. It's just that in general, everything is more expensive now. It's been 120% increase of like all consumer items. And this was 4 years ago. It's probably gone up more.
It's interesting that you mentioned how it's more expensive to live nowadays than it was back in the day, right? When we were talking about the whole minimum wage could cover your entire college.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's not a thing anymore. So you think about it, it's like, well, if minimum wage can't cover college, what can it cover, right? And if you think about it, if you make like, let's just say average $50K a year to be generous.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know how many people that you know that is a millennial that actually makes $50K a year.
No, I think it's
average... It's actually crazy. To get a $50K job, you actually have to get kind of lucky.
Yeah,
especially depending on where you live.
Yeah.
And then even if you get that $50K job, depending on where you're living, say you live in New York City, that rent is ridiculous.
Yeah, Massachusetts, California.
All of these places.
All that good jazz.
Right? So say you make... Let's do an example really quick. $4,000 a month, right, after taxes. You live in a 4-bedroom apartment with 3 other dudes, right, because that's all you can afford. $500 a month.
Oh, yeah, you can't afford to live by yourself in this fucking environment.
Right?
No, not at all.
Say you want to have a girlfriend, right? How much do you think that's?
Per month for like just feeding dates and stuff like that. If we're still going by chivalry and stuff like that, but a couple hundred, or even if you're just splitting the bill, it's still a couple hundred a month.
The fact that you have a
just
significant
to go out, have a good time
means you are out doing things, which means you're spending money.
Yeah,
right.
That is leisure cost.
And then take into account that you need to have health insurance, otherwise you get fined 2% of your or 1% of your income every year, right? So health insurance, auto insurance, renter's insurance. That's
if you have
$700 a month.
If you have a credit card, minimum card payment. Also,
credit card payments.
If you went to college, which most millennials did, there's your student loans as well.
Those loan payments can range anywhere from $300 to a grand.
Yeah, $3 to a grand.
Even grand a month. Imagine paying a grand.
I can't.
So let's take the average there and say like 500. So we got about $2,000 already knocked off before you can blink and realize that, hey, half my income's already gone. What are you doing with the other $2,000?
Oh,
a lot of millennials don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's part of our issue is we don't know what to do with our money if we make enough.
Yeah.
So if we're making a couple grand and then we spend, say, a couple $100 more on just things for us to make us happy.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's like buying, video games,
board games, shit for computers or cameras or microphones,
going golfing.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a popular one.
Yeah.
So golf clubs, all of this kind of stuff. Like, I can't even imagine trying to pay for a membership at a golf club. Like, there's no way I can afford that.
Yeah. Me and Jill are going to freaking Disney next month, and it's just like already I'm like, oh my God, we're spending too much money on this. We were trying to ball on a budget. We were getting free tickets and stuff, and it's just like, nope, things just keep on going up, and I'm just like, oh,
vacation.
Shit.
Imagine having to save 6 months of vacation, and then just having it all go away, and then you're wondering you're back at square one with no savings. Like having,
dude, it's insane.
Car payment is another huge one.
Unbelievable.
Car payment.
Yeah, it's true.
That's another $500-$600 a month if you get a newer car, or something like that. So, pretty much my point is, it's an interesting time to be us out of college, not making more than what our parents were making when they got out of college.
Yeah,
because they got out of college and they made $50K a year. They could spend $1,000 if they balled.
Yeah.
If they balled out. If you made $50K a year, you could buy a house.
Yeah, I know you could.
So easily.
I know.
Nowadays, you make $50K, you have to go in with 2-3 other people to be able to afford the house payment. And then going through the rigorous the steps of getting money to buy the house.
also inspection, freaking, what's it called? Just fixing up the house, getting it ready.
Maintenance,
just general shit.
Yeah.
Like most
filling it up.
Like most millennials, it's just like you don't think to set aside money, or you can't even to set aside that money for when the oil for when the heater breaks.
Yeah.
When the air conditioner
The rainy
goes.
day fund is what it's called.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it's just like you can't think of those. You can't, like, it's not that millennials can't think of it or they don't think about it. It's just you can't really conceive it in today's climate.
Right.
Whatsoever.
Like, I cannot imagine buying a house.
No.
Right?
I thought I wanted to.
But I have I just have so much other people I owe money to. Yeah. I couldn't imagine figuring out a way to borrow more money to pay other people more money.
Oh yeah, I'm expecting student loans to come and shake me down in a couple days.
And then
literally grab me by the ankles.
Shake out the pennies out of your pockets.
Oh yeah, they're my money lenders.
Yeah.
They're looking for me to pay up.
Time to pay up.
Time to pay
I need
up.
your lunch money.
Yep.
So CNBC, I mentioned earlier that I had a study about net worth of baby boomers when they were our age compared to now, and then what their parents were like compared to what they are now. So a couple of interesting stats I want to
hit
you guys with. So the first one is in 1998, right? We'll just go 1998. If you're 20 to 35, your average net worth is about $103,400. Now, $100,800. We went down with inflation going up 3% a year.
Holy fuck.
In the last 20 years.
Oh my God.
We should be worth 60% more.
Yeah.
We are worth $3,000 less.
Yeah, I know.
Compared to the baby boomers, right? Baby boomers, 1998, 52 to 70, we'll say. 747,600. This is, people working all of their life, saving up money, investing, having a home, right?
Yep.
All of this, you can get that pretty easily if you work for 50 years.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Today, $1.21 million.
Holy shit.
So, it's a very mind-boggling stat to think they went up almost double and we went down.
Yeah.
Where's the wealth in the country? How are we supposed to be able to help the economy when we can't afford to live? Money is not something usually you share.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's
I hate talking about money. Money fucking sucks. Money is the worst thing actually ever created ever, because what it does is it makes you a slave to it, because you have to make it in order to spend it to exist.
I'm aware.
It's a very weird situation for me to wrap my head around because of that. Because of the whole, I need to go do something for someone for this thing so I can pay to exist. And it's just, I don't know what we need to do. I don't know what the solution is as a generation to fix this wealth gap other than just wait. Just wait. Work your ass off and wait.
Well, I mean, what else can you do but fucking wait and work your ass off?
So, if you're trying to invest, you should invest early as possible.
Oh, yeah.
IRA, 401k, if your company matches a 401k.
Oof.
Max that bitch. Max that bitch. Don't take that for granted. Max it, especially if they match.
Dude, I work for a company
IRAs.
that just got their 401k back, and it's just like...
It's amazing how it doesn't even exist anymore. Imagine trying to get a pension. Pensions don't exist anymore.
Dude, you know the grocery store down the street? They offer 401k.
Crazy.
My job that required my
grocery
bachelor's
store.
degree just got it back. And speaking of which, that Pew Research Center study that I was looking into for this podcast was talking about how the average income for early young adults coming out of college has only increased by $1,300 since 1984.
Since 1984?
Since 1984. I know.
We are 27 years old.
Yeah.
That's 7 more years?
Yeah, that's 7 more years.
8 more years?
That's 8 more years.
We were born in 92.
I know.
8 years.
I was 91, but
before
still.
we were born. $1,300.
$1,300 fucking dollars.
I spent $1,300 in rent.
I know.
in San Diego a month.
$1,400 right now. But also, the average price for the college that you have gone to get that bread has gone up 260% average college tuition and fees. Okay, so the average back then, about $9,000 to $10,000.
To get a bachelor's degree?
Yeah, to get a bachelor's degree. Nowadays, $38,000. All right, so like, yeah, so your college tuition and fees have gone up $30,000 to earn $1,300 more dollars
to $1,300
than those people before.
Not to mention
how do you even pay that off?
Struggles of getting a job in your field when everybody's going to college.
Everybody's going to college because we were raised that way.
It's true. Then it's a matter of how are these people using these degrees?
Yeah. When it's just like we live in a world where the information is all around you.
Right.
You can easily educate yourself as opposed to being educated by others. Like, I'm not trying to 100% like bash like the education system at all, but the fact that, especially just the fact that like the structure of it, the 4-year structure, 2 semesters, 4 years.
Yep.
It's not even like necessary anymore. Half of those classes that you take.
Useless.
Like,
why not just become a plumber and a carpenter, get a job, 20 years old, you start making legitimate money at 20 years old, and then you can own your own company.
Yeah.
And then you work for yourself. You don't have to work for fucking idiots anymore.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm really good at Trivial Pursuit. Thanks to that.
Shit.
Yeah. I'll fuck you up.
Oh, shit.
But it's like, in general, like that's probably like the best way to summarize like what this podcast is. Am I right?
I think it was a great tidbit of information you gave.
Yeah.
And it's something that I feel like everybody needs to think about is how the inflation rate hasn't necessarily translated into more income for our generation.
No, not at all.
And we're kind of up a creek, so to speak.
Up shit's creek.
Right. So that was a very good episode.
I think so.
Especially to start us off here.
If we were to pat ourselves on the back, I think we did pretty good.
I deserve a pat on the back. You do too. You came up with the goddamn word.
I got you, buddy.
The word is money, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Money word. You gave us a word that we talked about it for 40 minutes. I can't do that. I can't come up with a word. I can talk about the word. I can form opinions. You can. I'm a professional opinion former.
I'm a professional idea giver, I suppose.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
So next week, we would like to talk about YouTube.
Yeah,
and
I'd say so.
The different ways that a professional and an amateur use YouTube and look at content on YouTube differently.
Yeah.
And it's
absolutely.
a very, very different ways you can use this one medium.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because it's free and all of the stuff that's there's going to be some pretty crazy statistics you guys don't know about YouTube, like the amount of data that's uploaded per hour. It's going to blow your mind.
Oh my God, it's insane.
So make sure you tune in next week for that.
And we'll give you some numbers.
So if you're interested at all in YouTube and how it works and some stats about YouTube and how crazy big it is,
yep.
Next week is the episode for you. I'm very excited.
I'm pretty fucking excited.
To talk about it. So until then, get that bread.
Till that wheat.
And acquire the grain.
And have a great week.